Hi everyone, Wayne Tucker here. In this video I want to talk about my experience with tuberculosis or TB cases. Experience, we came across two health units, so about working with two health units for about 10 years experience managing TB cases, both latent and as well as active cases of TB. So for probably one of the previous videos I explained in terms of the cross-training of public health nurses and public health inspectors to manage a lot of infectious diseases. TB was not one of them. In this case, public health nurses were on the CD team were the only ones that were following up on latent and active cases of TB. In terms of some of the other things in terms of the TB program, was the TB screening. So TB screening would need to be done when we had an active case that we were investigating. Obviously, and we would actually be doing TB screening for close contacts. Usually we'd be starting with close contacts in the home, but there could also be close contacts at work or so non-household contacts that would need to be followed up. In terms of a couple things, in terms of the treatment, sometimes, and I'll go into that a little bit more detail, but sometimes treatment, we would need to do a direct observed therapy. So that actually involves where the public health nurse would actually be going to the home of the TB case and ensuring that they're taking their meds. And this would be wasn't utilized on every active case of TB, but it would be utilized if we had concerns about the person actually complying with their treatment, taking their medication. So I was involved with TB can create a lot of concerns, obviously, in the community when you have active cases. So sometimes, depending, we would actually have to prepare media releases. So I was involved with that, and preparing and drafting a media release and reviewing it with the medical officer of health and sending that out. Sometimes it would be just we'd send a letter out to a school or a work site. So notification process sometimes didn't always involve the media, but sometimes it did. In terms of the public health orders. So in this case, using my example, we use Ontario. The medical officer of health, under the authority of the Public Health Act, could put in place a Section 22 order. So that would be drafted and signed by the medical officer of health. And if they had concerns about the person not self-isolating, not taking their medication, not cooperating in terms of following up or providing names and detailed information in terms of their household contacts and their non-household contacts. So if we was concerned about this, then the medical officer of health would put in place a Section 22 order that they would sign off on. If the case of TB, active case of TB, was still not compliant with the Section 22 order that was put in place by the MOH, then the MOH could also apply to the court for a Section 35 order. And this would actually require, if it was approved by the court, would require the person to actually be detained at a dedicated facility that manages TB. At the time in Ontario, there was only one facility where someone could be detained. And that facility would actually ensure that the person took their medication during that time period. During that time period, when someone's detained, they're not allowed to be to leave that facility. They stay at that facility, and it could be months during their treatment. TB cases, also some of the things I was involved with was actually occasionally, would be required, or a situation where we'd have to help the CD team and the staff to transfer a case to a facility under the Section 35 order. So I did that a few times. So the other part, TB can involve various components to it, and I'm not going to go into all that, but it is obviously something both for latent and active TB that involves months of treatment of different medications. There's some overlap, but it isn't a 2-week treatment. It takes months of treatment, and actually, therefore, the compliance for the treatment is extremely important. For public health, we need to ensure that someone is being compliant. So I mentioned earlier direct observed therapy. So we would occasionally have nurses going out to ensure that some cases were taking their treatment. We kind of did this decision on direct observed therapy because I'm sure you can appreciate that it's a very resource-heavy task because you need to be doing it not only during the week but also on the weekends. So it involves a fair bit of work. So we would reserve using direct observed therapy only when we felt that in consultation with the public health nurse and managing the case, if we had concerns about the person actually taking the medication and being compliant. So if we felt comfortable that they were going to be taking their medication and we could be responsible enough to do that, then we did not put direct observed therapy in place. We used that for those cases where we figured compliance was going to be more of an issue. On the weekends, with doing a direct observed therapy, you do need to ensure the safety of your nursing staff. So in those cases, what we would do on the weekends is actually have the public health nurse call either myself or one of the managers that's on call and let us know when they're entering a client's home. And then they would call us after they left the client's home. So it would be in and out as of, it doesn't take very long to observe someone taking their medication. So it only required being in the client's home for a few minutes. And then if we did have concerns, then we would be calling the public health nurse back immediately. Just kind of want to go through my experience, provide some more details of my experience overseeing the responsibility of a TB program. Just one other part I want to touch on quickly is the importance of, reaching out to some of the public health experts or those, because within Alpha we manage TB, but we also want to make sure we're using the latest guidelines. So we would keep the provincial representatives of staff aware of some of the cases, or especially consulting with them on some more complicated cases in terms of the treatment. And keeping them informed of some of the TB cases as well. Okay, thank you very much.